I think they're one of the worst in the card grading industry, an industry I already think is full of corruption.
They turn nostalgia into leverage, and they turn cardboard into an unregulated shadow stock market.
And I know people will hate hearing that, but that's what it is.
Every trading card has a number on it. That number decides everything. It can turn a $50 card into $5,000, and that number can be wrong. And almost every one of those numbers comes from one company.
PSA controls the market, controls the vendor market, controls eBay, controls GameStop. They are the grading company.
But here's where it stops making sense. That same company now sits inside the market it's supposed to judge. It grades the card, tracks the price, stores the asset, facilitates the sale, and now can even help buy it. So the question isn't just how cards are priced, it's this. What happens when the company deciding value is no longer just observing the market, but operating inside it? The whole system only works if one thing is true, that the number on the label is neutral, no incentives, no position in the outcome, just an objective measurement, but that only works if the company assigning the number has nothing to gain from it, and recently, that assumption has started to break.
Have you guys seen the recent PSA drama?
Knowingly grading altered cards, swapping PSA 9s to 10s, but keeping the same certification number, and even class action lawsuits.
Long story short, I mean, things are gonna happen. But when they do, it's how PSA chooses to handle it that dictates whether or not people start to lose faith in them as a grading company.
And once that number stops being neutral, the entire market starts behaving differently, because if the grade isn't neutral, what is it actually reflecting? Before grading, cards were opinions. After grading, they became assets, standardized, comparable, liquid. That shift turned a hobby into a multi-billion-dollar market, and the entire system rests on one thing: trust. If that breaks, the market doesn't bend, it resets. PSA earned that trust early.
PSA, which started in 1991, has certified millions of collectibles in its history, making it the largest third-party authentication and grading service in the world.
They achieved that with consistency, population reports, and a shared language for value. So when the boom hit, they were already in position.
But the moment PSA became trusted, they became powerful, because whoever defines condition defines price, and whoever defines price controls the market.
By 2025, 19 million cards graded in a single year, 72% of the entire market. A parent company valued at over $4 billion. They didn't just grow with the market, they became the standard. And once you become the standard, everything else starts to depend on you. Here's where the story gets bigger. PSA doesn't operate on its own. It sits inside a parent company, Collectors, and over the last few years, that company has been quietly expanding.
Collectors, aka the owner of PSA, just acquired BGS. So now if you want to grade with someone who isn't PSA, I have bad news. Collectors owns BGS, SGC, and PSA now.
PSA now owns 80% of the grading card market.
I am most concerned about, of course, is the monopoly thing. Like, this does sort of set up for more spooky stuff to happen.
They bought Card Ladder, the pricing data collectors use to check value, and they've expanded into adjacent markets through Water Games. So now think about the position they're in. They don't just grade the asset, they define the standard, they influence how it's priced, they control how it's tracked, and every tool you'd use to check their work sits inside the same system. Grade, data, platform, all connected. The product was never just the grade, it was the standard. And once you control the standard, you don't follow the market anymore. You shape it. But eventually, the system gets tested.
PSA grading just damaged a card worth $45,000.
A collector, a longtime PSA customer, sends in a rare Pokemon card, a 2004 Japanese Lenticular Deoxys, already graded PSA 10.
And the estimated price based on recent data is around $45,000 for this card.
They didn't want to regrade. No risk, no controversy. just a reholder, a new case around the same card.
And when they sent it to PSA, they annihilated that card.
And it came back to him as a PSA 6, losing about 90% of its value. And it wasn't because he did anything wrong, but PSA actually damaged his card.
This is definitely a devastating loss for the owner of the card, and there is nobody here to blame except for PSA.
What makes it hilarious is the fact that the last sale is from the PSA vault. Like, that's just his icing on the cake.
At the exact same time, that identical card was listed on their own platform for around $45,000. Same card, two valuations, one system deciding both, with one condition: sign a confidentiality agreement, stay silent, or the offer disappears. And that's when people started asking,
How many one-off situations have gone by without them being caught?
the $45,000 story isn't just about one card, it's about what happens when the same system that defines value starts participating in transactions. PSA offers lets you sell a card before it even comes back. Fast, liquid, convenient, but you don't know who the buyer is. And in a system where the grader, the pricing data, and the marketplace are all owned by the same entity, the question isn't whether something went wrong. It's whether the structure allows you to ever know. That's not a conspiracy. That's a conflict of interest by design. And while this plays out, the cost of access keeps climbing.
PSA has never changed their grading standards, but something that they do change regularly is their prices.
We've done $5 price increases for some of the other expedited levels, from value all the way up to regular. That's the big takeaway. Not popular, not, nobody likes having to pay more for services.
This is their fourth price increase in about 14 months.
But that's just the surface, because those prices aren't always final. Every tier comes with a value limit, an expectation of what your card is worth, but that expectation is based on a guess. And the moment the grade comes back higher than expected, everything shifts. Submit a card thinking it's worth a few hundred, and if it comes back worth thousands, you don't just get a better result, you get moved into a higher tier and charged again. So now, the same system deciding the grade is deciding the value and then deciding how much you owe. And that creates a structure where the outcome changes the price and nobody outside the system controls any part of it.
They're all anti-customer.
Yeah.
They want us to pay more money. They want us to wait longer, 4 or 5 months, sometimes longer. I mean, this is insanity.
So collectors pay more, wait longer, and take on more risk inside the same loop because there's nowhere else to go. Want to check the price? Card Ladder, also owned by collectors. The grade, the data, the platform, and potentially the buyer, all inside the same system. And nobody can fully answer this. What happens when the system benefits from getting the price wrong? So, who really decides card prices?
Grading companies know which cards are rare, which grades are about to spike, and which markets are overheating, while the collectors do not.
And here's the thing about trust in markets. It doesn't require proof of wrongdoing. It only requires doubt. The moment someone wonders whether the grade was influenced by anything other than the card, the entire system shifts. Not because something definitely happened, but because the structure allows it to happen, and nobody can prove it didn't. We've seen this before. Credit rating agencies in 2008, platforms that set the rules and play the game. The entity holding the standard is supposed to be separate from the outcome. When that line blurs, the system doesn't collapse. It just starts working differently, quietly, in ways that benefit whoever holds the rulebook. PSA didn't break the market, it built it. But once you control the standard, you don't just measure value, you shape it. Then once the system sets the number, the market doesn't decide anything at all. It just obeys. And if one company controls the entire system, how do you know it's still neutral? Leave a comment to let me know your thoughts and make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.